Okay, here we're going to look at population demographics. And what we see pictured here is a population pyramid, and it goes over and it shows the number of individuals in a certain age of the male and female gender here. In this case, this is representing the U.S. population for the year 2010. So we're going to look at some of these and understand a little bit more about what this may show us. So first off, population demography. Well, the demography is a statistical study of populations. Demos meaning people, and graphy meaning a measurement. So it's a measurement of people. And we may be familiar with kind of the world population here in billions and the exponential growth that we're in. And is it going to continue at a high rate, continue at a medium rate, or continue at a low rate, or actually degrade is the question here that we're looking at. So this study helps us predict how population sizes will change going forward. And the growth rate is sensitive to the sex ratio, which is the males to females, and the age structure. How many young people, how many older people, and how many middle-aged people. So if we look here at the world here, well, the sex ratio, the portion of males to females in a population is the basic definition of this. The number of births is usually directly related to the number of females, because they're the ones that can bear children. So we see our map indicating here, blue indicates countries with more females than males. We see that evident here. Countries with the same number of males or females are in green, and countries with more males than females are in red there. And no data is here. So this can be a little misleading when we see some of these large areas. Remember, this is just looking at the country. This isn't saying that there's a definite border here. It's looking at just the sex ratio of the different countries. But we can see definitely a general trend here of these countries having more males than females, and in the United States here and North America overall having more females than males. The gender gap in India, the child sex ratio, overall there are more males than females in various Indian states, particularly in the northern area, where there can be as many as 125 to 130 males to 100 females. What are some of the long-term impacts overall population of this country? So in a country that has this many more males than females, how is this going to impact different areas? And that's something we need to think about. And when there's a gender gap, these are some of the questions that are generated as the impacts it can have on that country in the long term. Now the gender gap in the worldwide view here, looking at gender equality, here again in red we have a larger gender gap, and in green we have less of a gender gap there. Gender gap of 1 would be incomplete equal here. And we could see here the different countries where there is a greater gender gap where that is existing based on 2013 data. Now this gender imbalance is very evident in China, where it's in 1982 when the ultrasound was widely available, we see now an increase in the number of males present. In 2012, for every 100 girls born, there were 116 boys born here. Now this China's gender imbalance problem, the gap may not look large, but it represents a gender gap of about 34 million women in 2011 there. So there's a lot more males than there are females. Despite our growing population here overall in the billions, is uneven. There are more males than females there. Just a general population demography. Well, in Singapore, here we have a poster that says 1, 2, and that's ideal. The goal here was to try to limit the amount of population growth that may occur. And on the picture here, countries by birth rate, those of the brighter colorations here, we're seeing births per 1,000 in population. We're seeing a lot higher birth rate in the countries here of Africa. So the age structure, as I mentioned, a cohort is a group of individuals of the same age with characteristics. Birth rate or fecundancy is the number of offsprings born in a standard time. That directly relates to the death rate or mortality when we're looking at populations here. It's the number of individuals that die in that same period. The relative number of individuals in each cohort defines the population's age, and that goes back to the first image we saw with the bars, where we're looking at the number of individuals of the male and female sex ratio there how many occur in a particular population. So the birth rate is the number being born, death rate is the number dying off. How these relate to one another will determine a population's demographics.